We purchased an ugly old house and transformed it into a Palm Springs inspired home. But building a granny flat was always part of the plan, and now the time has arrived. It's common for me to create a theme when I'm designing a home. It gives me a design direction, a reference point, as I'm thinking about all of the selection decisions along the way, the materials and the finishes. It helps keep me on track. The design theme for this particular project was modern coastal. It all started with the beautiful texture on our batten and board walls. From there, I selected one by one the colours and finishes necessary to create a palette that's interesting, bold maybe, but welcoming at the same time. After establishing the external palette, I referred to that as inspiration for the interiors. The same coastal feel, the blue and the white, the vertical lines, and more interesting patterns and textures. I wanted to create a house that was rich with character, but also one where our visitors, our guests, will want to feel calm in, a space to relax and truly unwind. And now that it's completed inside and out, I look around and remember the challenge I had to face at the beginning of this adventure. To create a small house that's welcoming, as visually interesting as large homes that I create with my clients. And I think we've achieved a success. The addition of the screen wall around our deck and pergola created a private garden that can be enjoyed in all kinds of weather. This area is spacious, and from the inside looking out, it feels like an extension of the living area. In fact, it is. So the time has come to make this house functional, adding that final layer of furniture and decor, as well as the additional appliances that our guests will use when they come to stay. A practical inclusion for any house, especially a guest house, is to have a laundry. This is small, but of course it has a washing machine. We're very close to the beach, so there might be time when you have to wash some clothes, especially beach towels. So this is a 10-kilo washing machine. It's also a really good looking design. It goes with the rest of my finishes, and in case the doors are open, it's going to look beautiful. The fridge is also black. It's actually black stainless steel. It's also an upside down fridge freezer, meaning the fridge is on the top and easy to access, as you use that more often than the freezer. One important tip when it comes to fridge and freezers is to make sure that they hinge on the right side. You want it to be able to open onto the kitchen side where you're doing all of the work. Now, who loves doing dishes on holidays? No one. That's why we included a dishwasher. It's a quality brand with easy to use controls, so no one's going to have a problem. And it has an economy wash suitable for small loads. As for the colour, well, of course I went with the dark finish so that it blended in with the fridge and the other black appliances. What is the single piece of furniture that can make or break any holiday or vacation experience? The bed. That's right. Nothing affects a vacation quite like a bad sleep. So I made sure that all the mattresses and beds were comfortable in both bedrooms. Once again, I got a beautiful tempura mattress for the queen bed and 2 Sealy Posturepedic mattresses for the single beds. They were such a success in our main house that reselecting them again for the guest house was a no-brainer. When furnishing a house with brand new furniture, there's a risk that you create the look of a showroom. It can be beautiful, don't get me wrong, but it can also feel a little bit clinical, a little bit staged, lacking some soul. My advice is to include a mixture of styles, some new items, some older items. I think it creates that new feel as well as the established feel at the same time. Now, this mirror has actually had many reincarnations from the original time that I got it from an ex-display furniture auction over 20 years ago. Originally it was like a shabby chic sort of vintage looking finish, and then I ended up having it hanging on the wall like that, and then I painted it into a matte charcoal because it suited our studio where I had it the last time. Now it's going into our granny flat / guest house, and to give it more of a nautical feel and add a contrast against the wall colour, I'm giving it a coat of white, which is going to really enhance the contrast of the shape, the round against all of the vertical lines of the cladding, and it's going to have another life and hang up on the wall for another few years. I selected the new furniture pieces for our living and dining room from K Furniture. This is a brand that I know really well and I've used many times. It combines European quality, stylish design and durable finishes. Well, the boxes have arrived and it's a very hot day here, but it's time to start putting our beautiful new furniture in the granny flat and finally bringing this space to life. It's time to put some tinted roof covering on top of our beautiful alfresco. It's going to transform this space and make it beautiful all year round. One element that people often forget to include in their schedule and their budget is the landscaping, and that includes the driveway. This usually happens at the very end of the project, and its costs usually arrive as an unforeseen surprise. Of course, being outside of the home, the landscaping and the driveway can be postponed until the savings allow it a little bit later. Or you can save by selecting smaller plants and let Mother Nature help them grow. But for our guest house, well, the aim is to actually rent this out as soon as we can. So we had to deal with the landscaping as soon as we could as well. After completing such a great job on our main house renovation, I knew that getting the team back from Ocean Landscapes was the right choice to help me realise the look that I was after. So a lot's been happening on site. The granny flat's finished, the beautiful pergola and the deck's done. Now it's time to deal with this front yard. We ended up with a really nice streetscape here because we set the granny flat back off the street. So technically this is the back of our property. We could have come 900 off the front fence, and some places have done that, but it's ugly.
You know, I think everybody wants to have a little bit of a front garden anyway, don't they? So I think what you've done here is kind of given a nice little sanctuary out the front here.
Yeah. Now, our block does have a bit of a problem. There's actually a dip in the land right at the front of the block, the new granny flat. This is an issue because water wants to run there even though we have sand. So when it's really heavy with rain, all of the water is going to run into that section. It's going to negatively impact our landscaping, plus that's where we want the driveway to go. Now, we could have gone with a concrete or tarmac driveway. They're actually very practical, they're easy to drive on and maintain. But the problem with a hard driveway surface when it rains is that the water actually runs across the top of it. It gathers speed, and this causes a problem when all that built up water eventually goes to where it's going to go, the lowest part of our land. The solution was a permeable driveway, and when it comes to council and lodgements, they actually like permeable surfaces because it means that the water is being absorbed on your site rather than leaving your block of land and going to the neighbours or to the street. Now, you've already had your little digger on here, you're flattening it all out.
It's just sand, so it makes it so easy. But yeah, look, we're going to make a solid foundation here for the driveway and put a good depth of road base for a good sub base for your driveway. And then, yeah, like you've sourced these beautiful cell pavers.
Well, it was the perfect choice. I actually love this product because it's permeable, so the water can go through. We get that natural grid, so it's paying with all the lines and the texture that we've got on this property already.
And then choose a nice kind of gravel or a pebble to go inside, and bit of contrasting colour there. But
now these pavers from Brickworks are permeable. They're actually more cost effective to install and lay than a concrete or tarmac driveway, so it's a great win for our budget. And another benefit of this grid pattern is that it's going to create texture on the ground. That will complement the texture on the main dwelling and really elevate the look of our house from the street, creating great street appeal. No landscaping is complete without plants, but purchasing mature plants can be really costly. We knew about 2 years ago when we were doing the renovation on the main house that we were going to be eventually adding a granny flat. So it was then that we started saving. Not saving money, saving plants.
James, what are you doing?
Killing myself. These beautiful irises, they're called Dietes Bicolor. They've got two beautiful colours in them. Sandra and I actually saved these from a council pickup in Sydney and brought them up here for the house, and they've been in the ground and they have like grown about 8 times their size, and they're beautiful. So now we're going to open them up, split them, get some smaller plants and use them for the gardening of the guest house. Good for the planet, good for our budget. And then lots of planting. We've been propagating. You'd be very proud of me, Mitch. Sandra and I have been digging up plants, separating them, putting them all in the front yard. They're hidden.
No, you and Sandro are the ultimate propagators, I've noticed. So yeah, it's gonna look great out the front here, and we've sourced some recycled road base this time for you.
You know, I love my sustainability. I love to know where products are coming from.
So this recycled road base is essentially broken up concrete. So any concrete that's been dug out, I think we just dug some out from your place.
That was the slab that was in the way for our deck.
And yeah, that's now, as we speak, getting crushed up and creating new recycled road base.
I love it, mate. It's that circular economy. Take away the waste, crush it, bring it back as something else.
That's right.
It's looking awesome, mate. It's great to have you here again.
Cheers, mate.
Thanks, buddy. Now, there are many options to fill the holes of the grid, including dwarf grasses or low-spreading plants to soften its appearance. But my landscape design already includes a lot of greenery. I want the driveway to be really low maintenance, so I'm going to go with either gravel or pebbles to fill the holes in that beautiful grid pattern. Now, some people suggested that we could lay the pavers ourselves, and Sandra and I are not afraid to get our hands dirty. We actually take a lot of jobs on. But this is a little bit above our skill level. We have to make sure that all those pavers are laid level. They have to be on a hard surface because cars are going to drive on it, and it's quite a large span. So I decided to pass it over to the experts. By Mitch installing our pavers in a professional way, our driveway will remain beautiful and a functional design statement for a long time to come. We're guaranteed no structural movement, there's almost zero maintenance, and that's what I call saving money. So it's time now for the planting of our guest house. We've propagated some plants that we have, some succulents, we had some agaves, we found some other plants on council pickup. I need a statement plan, and this baby here was such an important part of the facade here for our main house makeover with the James Border House series. It's growing so strong, it's starting to touch the fly screen, it's just getting too big, so it needs to be pared back a bit. We're giving new life to this amazing plant and watching our budget at the same time. Now, many people don't actually realise that before I became an interior designer and after I was a real estate agent, I actually studied the Diploma of Horticulture Landscape Design. Now, I strongly believe that everything we learn along the way is never a waste of time. I believe that all of that knowledge and experience will become very useful one day, one way or another. So I use this landscape design knowledge all the time with my clients on their projects. With that all in mind, it's the same concept as interior design: scale, placement and contrast. So I've got this wall between the two windows on the front elevation, and that's where I'm going to place the cactus now to become a feature. And almost bang in the center I'm going to plant it, but it will naturally find its own way and add beautiful organic contrast against all of the straight lines of the cladding. So I've planted halfway down that particular large section or nodule of the cacti. That's going to naturally form roots from there now and grow naturally into its new home. We've included a nice balance of more structural plants and then the organic, so they give a beautiful contrast. And some plants are going to go up a little bit taller, and then we've got the ones that are going to cascade over the sides. It's already looking great now against that beautiful deep ocean vertical cladding on the walls. Super duper. Another element that's important to create a comfortable and beautiful home is blinds and curtains. Now, which ones should we choose for this project? The blind can easily be pulled up and down, but when it's fully up, you have no window covering at all. That's important because you still want to have a sense of privacy, or sometimes just filter out the harsh sun from coming into your home. That's where the combination of blinds and curtains works really well. As for the colour, well, it's got a slight wheaty tone. It goes really well with the crisp white and picks up the warmth of the timber tones in the floor. And it's the final touches that are really softening how this home feels. An important tip to remember when you're selecting your own blinds and curtains is to make sure that the texture of the fabric and the colour works with the rest of your home interiors, making sure that you tell the same story, and that way you'll end up with a beautiful feel and cosy look inside each room of your house. I decided to go with a smart key lock for this home for a couple of reasons. I can access it by either using the keypad or the fingerprint action to be able to open it, meaning that I can come and go without worrying about any keys. The keypad is a really clever feature because I can give that code to my family, friends, or maybe a tradesperson, and they can access the home without me being here. Of course, I went with a quality brand because it's designed to deal with the elements and be outdoors. It's also safe and secure. And its clean lines and good looks also suits the house. What do you think? Whilst the landscaping proceeds outside, we keep working inside, opening boxes of furniture and selecting a range of decor objects that will create a house that our guests will find visually interesting and very welcoming. Once again, I wanted pieces that would distinguish themselves, but also pieces that would suit the taste of our holidaying guests. So I included some modern design that's also welcoming and very comfortable. It's time to go back outside as our pavers begin being installed. This is definitely increasing our street appeal. Well, it's a big day now. I've got Mitch from Ocean Landscapes back, starting to lay out the screed now to lay our beautiful new permeable pavers. There is a very clear system to follow to ensure that the pavers are laid properly. A strong road-based surface was laid first. On top of this, a screed of sand is then added to ensure that the driveway is level, but also slightly sloping. This allows any water that doesn't absorb in a really heavy rainfall to still run away from the house. Well, now that the whole grid pattern is in place and you can see how effective it is, it's time to fill those little holes with the aggregate. Mitch gave us a few options of different colours. This one is sort of like a warm undertones of almost sandstone, and it's working really well with the colour of the deck. It looks so effective. As soon as our driveway is complete, the impact from the street of our granny flat is instantly elevated. Now there's one more job to complete the look. The mulch is added and the gravel on the road. We were lucky that the existing main house is positioned towards the end of the block. That allowed us to set back the building of our guest house from the rear street, achieving a generous front yard. That existing tall jacaranda tree was fortunately located in the middle of the block and close to the front fence. It allows it to beautifully frame the new guest house, giving this new dwelling a strong sense of being established, as if it's been here longer than it has. An important tip whether you're renovating or rebuilding is to consider retaining or repositioning existing trees. This is not only great for the environment, but it's also really good for the value of your property. Adding the alfresco created a precious extension to the living area of our guest house, a space that our visitors will enjoy spending time in. So it's only natural that we included quality furniture pieces here as well. Once again, we went to Cave Home.
Hey James, what are you doing? It's the weekend.
Yes, it's the weekend, but it's the perfect time to style our guest house. At least it will look relaxing, even though I'm not quite relaxed yet. The final layer of creating your home is the styling. It's a chance to add some personality and visually interesting spaces around the home. It's about creating little destinations to rest the eye, but it's also about showing who's living there and telling your story if it's your home. In this case, it's a beach home. It's a holiday destination. I want to give the feeling that it's relaxing to be here. It's calm and everything's neat and you feel relaxed on holidays. This little section here, it's just a plant, some cookbooks, and a beautiful little tribal piece that I picked up. Sometimes I pick books for the key words that are written on the spine. In this case, I've got colour and some names that we all know. And being cookbooks, they're also practical if someone wants to cook while they're here. Over on this side of the kitchen, it's very simple. I've got a coffee machine. It's a good looking one, but of course it makes coffee. A plant, and the color on that little pot, of course, picks up the color on my front door. And over here, there's a little story being told, but it's a chopping board, salt and pepper shaker, and a mortar and pestle, all useful things that can be used in the kitchen. Easy to grab, but they also look nice as a collection. An important trick to remember when placing a grouping of objects is the power of three. Three items just work quite strong in design. Also different heights. Our eyes look at this and they don't know whether they're looking up or down, and our eyes get caught in the space. I've got a mixture of textures and patterns, but this vertical sculpture is also a lamp. It flows light onto the textured wall. It gives another dimension, and of course it looks fantastic at nighttime. The light illuminates this corner, but it also draws attention to this space, further elevating the look and feel of this corner of the room. So, job done. And it looks and feels exactly the way I wanted. Now, if you remember, this process started by working with one of the existing plans from Granny Flat Solutions. All I did was tweak it slightly to make it work for our needs, and then added the finishes necessary to create its unique character. Some of them were an upgrade, and even though they cost more than the standard options, they've greatly increased the value of this house. Here's a tip. Never confuse cost with investment, which ultimately creates value. Now, there are always standard options for every home, allowing you to create a space that's safe and comfortable, and it can still be good looking. But I decided to invest money to elevate some key components of this project, which now provides me with great benefits. 1, higher rental. Number 2, higher demand. And importantly, number 3, higher overall value to borrow against in case I choose to. Now, I can hear you ask, how much does it cost to build a granny flat? Well, each individual design is of course different. The base price for this particular model is $150,000 from Granny Flat Solutions, but of course you have to allow for site costs and any upgrades that you might like to make in finishes or materials, as well as any floor plan changes. We incurred extra site costs because of the sandy soil, requiring screw piers, and the slope of our block required a drop edge beam, adding the cost to the concrete slab. I also wanted higher ceilings inside, taller doors, and a mixture of window and door sizes. Of course, there were also some extra costs for the upgraded finishes that I just had to have inside and out. Now, when it comes to building a granny flat, there's usually a couple of reasons why. Some people choose to do it because of their family dynamics, kids moving back with them, mum and dad moving in with them. But many people do it to achieve an additional income. To give you an idea of where we're located, if we rented this property out full time, we will cover the complete cost of this granny flat within 6 years. How amazing is that? Now, because of our location, we're an hour north of Sydney and the beach is 6 minutes away. If we rent this out just for holiday letting, we expect to almost halve that. So it's quite outstanding what we can achieve. From the onset, we knew that we were going to build a granny flat. It was a natural progression for the block that we had and the location that we chose to build in. So for us, we saw adding this granny flat not as a cost, but as a great investment. Now, I hope that I've inspired some of you, sharing the journey of designing and building a granny flat for yourselves, and also maybe unlocking the potential of your own block, building a granny flat that can unlock the potential and add extra income or provide additional accommodation, depending on what works best for you. My name is James Treble, an interior designer with over 30 years experience in the build and design industry. I have worked with literally thousands of clients on their own homes. Some of them large homes, many of them extra large homes. But the challenge on this particular project was to use all of that knowledge on a smaller footprint. A granny flat, creating a guest house that people will want to spend time in and return to time and time again. And I couldn't be happier with the results. What do you think? I'll see you on the next project.